I talked about Uncharted, and we charted a common topic together, didn't we?
We charted the course, and it turned out to be very painful. So Uncharted, which is literally the name, it's a movie adaptation, sort of, that came out this month, in fact, the month of February, which is supposedly sort of a prequel, but it's very much so not. It was directed by Ruben Fleischer from a screenplay by Rafe Lou Judkins, Art Markham, and Matt Holloway, which was partially developed by a film division of Naughty Dog, which is a new subdivision, and was also put out by Sony Pictures. So I'll lead on this one then. Give your poor voice a second. So I like Uncharted. I am an Xbox boy, so it took me a long time to get to Uncharted. I have no nostalgia for it. I just really appreciate it, mostly from a storytelling angle. I find most of the gameplay to be solid, but it from a character standpoint is far more interesting. I think the mass market appeal of like the game franchise of basically being Indiana Jones, but what if he was dog shit at his job? Which I appreciate, but like the big explosions and the cave hunting or whatever, that's what like the games are advertised on. I enjoy that. That's a genre, I guess, of storytelling I like, but I mostly like the games for their character interactions and the character progression. That stuff is way more interesting, and I think their writing really leans to it. And this movie did none of that for me. It is a big dumb blockbuster in basically all ways, which is what I was expecting. But I didn't hate it. But this is like aggressively mid, which is, I guess, good for a video game movie.
I'm laughing because we're pretty much on the same page. I went in with a hate boner and came out like, it's kind of not bad unless you're coming from the video games.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of normies are going to like this movie. But having played everything Uncharted, including the PS Vita title, and enjoying them, it's really tough to not critique every single thing in this movie.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. It's because I'm not like a diehard, I have no issue with the let's not like tonally follow and we'll do kind of our own thing. Like I have no qualms with that if you're doing it for a reason. I don't get like really offended by the castings or whatever. It's just, it leans into a few of my pet peeves currently, one of which is Tom Holland's childlike American accent, which I knew we've discussed this, I think on air on a previous podcast at some point, is a serious anger point of mine. His like grown ass man American accent is totally fine. I quite like it, but he's still doing the Spider-Man voice in this movie, even though he's supposed to be like 22. Like, he's the character of Nathan Drake in this movie is roughly as old as Tom Holland is, but they kind of tell him to tone it to like be more nervous and goofy. And that's
very much like Rick from Rick and Morty.
Kind of. And I don't understand why, because I don't hate Tom Holland as a casting for a Nathan Drake Uncharted 1 era. I don't have a problem with that. I think it's a little different. I think he needs a little bit more dirt in his hands, but like that's fine. And I like the idea of Dirty Dirty, it's a prequel kind of, so he's different. I don't have a problem with that, but it basically turns into Tom Holland just playing Spider-Man without the suit in terms of the character, and I don't like that on a character level. It's not Nathan Drake, but it's not really anything interesting. So I think that makes it really boring.
I think one of the things they did to try to step around that and make it so it's not exactly Peter Parker in an Uncharted movie. They spent a lot of time with him shirtless and like showing off his bod and how he's put on a lot of muscle. And it was, you don't see that a lot in Spider-Man. It felt like they were trying to make him a beefcake, even though he's bigger than I am, but he's not like freaking Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, and I think on that level, I do appreciate Tom Holland's casting in the sense that he does most of his own stunt work, and I think that stuff was excellent.
Yep.
Like, so there are very clearly two different types of action sequences in this movie. We have actual choreographed fights and like escape sequences and so on, which I did think, not in terms of directing, but in terms of choreography and performances, were actually really good. Particularly on Tom Holland's part. He had a lot of fun, particularly the scene in the bar. That was great. But the rest of them, and especially the climax, is just CGI fuckfest. Like they literally rip the finale of the fourth game and just stick it at the end of this movie. And it's like, basically once I saw the plane sequence in the trailers, that's when I realized this is not what I wanted it to be. And I'm okay with that, I guess. It's just, I don't like that distinction. If Nathan Drake, his archetype is Indiana Jones, but shit, you know, he has the same predilections, but he's kind of incompetent. It makes for some good visual comedy sometimes, but he's still like not like a baby man. And that's kind of what he comes across as in this. Physically, he's way too competent for what he's like emotionally portrayed as. He's extremely acrobatic. He's clearly very strong. He's like Tom Holland in real life. That's cool. But the personality doesn't really glean much for it. He doesn't have much of a background in anything. And it just feels weird.
I don't remember all right, I gotta word this weird. You said the finale was basically ripped from Uncharted 4. I don't remember the pirate ships flying through the air, and I was actually going to say that it felt like a lot of the action sequences, besides the airplane cargo crate thing, were unique. The cathedral going under the city and through the city, that I don't remember that really being in any game. The pirate ships flying through the air as the final battle, that felt pretty cool. I guess what I'm saying is that they didn't just take action sequences from the games and make it a movie, kind of like how I felt with the Tomb Raider movie with Alicia Vikander. Like, that felt like, yeah, I just watched the first Tomb Raider reboot as a movie.
See, I didn't mean the pirate ship part. I meant more like the chase sequence, but yeah, still. I see what you mean, and I it's fine, I guess. It's just I don't know. It something feels kind of crappy about that, and frankly, just because COVID has completely fucked how movies are made right now, I'm not going to complain too much about like the CG being bad, but this movie is very boring in terms of visual aesthetic. It's a Ruben Fleischer film, so he's like the most safe studio, has no personality director on the planet. That's fine, I guess. But like, there's no set dressing. Even the really practical sequences are very clean and tidy, and they're in a lot of clean and tidy locations. Even like the actual dirty caves and shit, they still look like sets. And that might have had something to do with so they could do the CG easier, because it takes a lot less work, to CG something with less texture on it. But this feels like it's a really expensive movie, but it's not impressive. It just feels expensive. Like a really, really high budget TV show, but like on a network. So not like a streaming exclusive, but like this feels like a really expensive Walking Dead episode or like something like that.
Something that I'm sure is just going to set up for you to dive off from. I got a bad feeling from the directing anyway. There were some rough cuts, like the opening has Nathan Drake hanging from the cargo that's hanging outside of the plane, and then it cuts to the past, and then to present day. And I was like, what? Where's the airplane then? If we're in the now of the timeline, it felt like they were just leaving that behind, and they eventually wrapped around to it at, Deadpool 1 style. But
you're probably wondering how I got into this situation.
I laughed out loud at the end of the movie because one of the bad guys in the middle of the island cave was at the bottom next to the buried pirate ships, and then all of a sudden he was piloting the plane that picked up the pirate ship. There were just some really bad cuts and goofs like that it was like, oh, that's rough. Like, yeah,
it feels very slapdash, even though it's been like the script has been rewritten 1,000 times since I was in like elementary school.
Right.
If you don't want to do something like unique on like a character or story level, that's fine. You just have to make it really interesting on a plot level. You make the set pieces actually good and very visually interesting. They clearly have a lot of effort put into them. You can make it just a spectacle movie, but your spectacle has to be good. Like, that's okay, but this kind of does neither. The story and characters are aggressively mediocre, and they barely feel like their counterparts in the games. And also the spectacle is kind of meh.
So on characters, I really appreciated that Chloe was in it. They did a really nice job. She was casted well. She played the part really well. There were a lot of backstabs and in the whole story, and that's expected. That's how Chloe operates. But I think it was cheapened by the relationship that Nate and Sully have in this movie. Sully backstabs everybody several times, and that never happens in the games as far as I can remember. Like, Nate and Sully are tight. They trust each other like all the time, implicitly, to a fault sometimes.
I think that's where this movie was trying to go with the prequel aspect of like, this is how they came to trust it. I agree.
Because it cheapens everything. It cheapens Chloe's character because you can't trust anybody. This isn't an X-Files movie. This is Uncharted.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing that kind of made me exhausted by the end of the runtime. Is it's just backstab, back. Like, this is one of my favorite like types of movie. I like treasure hunting movies. They're usually schlock. I like it. But when the only character who's remotely like good in any sense is Nate, it doesn't mean anything. Sully having an arc, it means nothing because it's not given that much emotional weight, and because he's like everybody else. Like, if he's given a choice, but if you either know the greater context of the games, 99%, like, this is a safe movie in basically all ways. So they're not going to make Sully actually be a bad guy in the end. He's going to come around. So the choice has no weight to it. But the movie doesn't even pretend like he's going to actually make the choice to take the gold. Like, no, I don't know. It's very frustrating. And also the fact that I don't like Mark Wahlberg very much in any aspect really doesn't help it, because he's not acting here, because Mark Wahlberg can't act. He is Mark Wahlberg, a guy from Boston. And Sully in this movie is kind of dog shit.
There was definitely at least one time in the movie where his accent came out of nowhere, and it was like, what? Come on.
he's the guy you call when you need someone to be like, hey, like, I don't know what the fuck accent I'm trying to do, but like he's Mark Wahlberg. Everyone knows what he does, and that's fine. He's a very typecast guy, and he seems to like that, I guess. And he doesn't seem
really
to try to break out of the typecasting in this movie at all.
I wish he could have come around, because he could have been okay as Sully.
Yeah, he could have been
Not my
fine.
choice, but he could have been good at it. As it is now, it's not good.
Yeah, and then the post-credit scene with him having a mustache purely for the sake of, OMG, guys, look, it's a mustache, was some of the most cringe-inducing shit I've seen all year.
I think it was for the puberty crack, and that pissed me off in the advertising. That only feeds back to Tom Holland acting younger than what his character should be.
He's like 24. It's fine. Let him be 24. He has age lines. It's okay.
As a pretty big fan, self-proclaimed fan of the video games, I really wish that they had Elena in this movie, because that would have added so much depth. I mean, she's in the opening scene of the first game as an interest. So Nathan doesn't really get along with her in the first game. She's just tagging along and is being an annoying nudge. But then in the second game, that's part of the conflict of Chloe, is like, she's hot but crazy and backstabs you all the time. But
she's hot.
So that's just another layer that's missing from Chloe's character. It's
I think kind of in that vein, one of the reasons why the protagonists, if you can call them all protagonists, I guess, lacking in anything really shines through is because the villains just fucking suck.
Yeah.
Antonio Banderas, for once in his life, is not chewing scenery, and I can't stand it. If you're going to make him a stupid, hokey villain, just let him do it. And he kind of wasn't. Like, he was, in a sense of, Antonio Banderas cannot do subtle acting to save his life. But, like, this is about as subtle as it's ever going to get with him. Like, let him just be batshit crazy, and that's fine. But the multiple villain switches and all the protagonists are all kind of antagonists bullshit. I hate it. I hate that. It's stupid and boring. Like, let the characters be people, or make it an absolute camp fest.
There were so many quips in this movie. I did not react to any of them. And I was paying attention to the full movie theater around me, and I heard one chuckle once. Like, I think that's pretty clear, in my opinion, that even the writing was rough. Like, if you can't get a movie theater to laugh at all your quips, maybe you're doing something wrong.
And movie theaters are the place where people laugh at shitty jokes. So
yeah,
I agree with that. None of them, most of them weren't like cringe-inducing, to be fair. Like,
yeah, I disagree.
There were definitely some, but it felt I don't know. It was very clear. I hate the term. I'm going to use it, though. I hate the Marvelized quip type of humor. I hate it. I've kind of always hated it. But it infiltrating other movies is atrocious and obnoxious, and I don't like it because it has none of the charm of actually being a Marvel movie. But it was present, but it didn't piss me off in this movie. Like, I knew it wasn't going to be funny. This movie started being written when I was a child. It has had like 5 people cast, quote unquote, as its lead. It's had 5 different directors. It's had 4 different Sullys. This shit is not going to be funny. I'm lucky if it's going to be like good. So like, I wasn't expecting to laugh. And because I walked in with such piss poor expectations, I guess I didn't find it like offensively unfunny. The cat was cute, I guess. That's all I got.
Yeah.
The visual comedy I thought was okay.
I was more impressed by Tom Holland's bartending skills. He put a lot of work in that.
He actually did go learn how to bartend, and that was pretty cool. Like, he went and worked at a bar for like a month or whatever. That was pretty cool. But
I had one more point. Wait for it.
Oh, the actual post-credit scene, that's the quote-unquote important one, makes me want to like put a drill in my ears. It's basically just undermining half of the emotional weight of the movie, going, actually, his brother Sam is alive. Ha ha ha. See, when the games did that, I guess, spoilers, not really. The game's been out forever. Like, it worked because there had been a lot of time put into it. Same thing for the very rare times where Sully doesn't side with Nate or whatever. There's a lot of time and energy put into that. Versus this is like, you're undermining 2 hours worth of work tops. Fuck you. Like, what you really expect to get a big, like, cheer for that? The game fans would assume it's either coming or you're going to do it eventually. And then the normies don't care because you haven't made them care in this movie, like, emotionally. So it doesn't mean anything.
I would say my favorite part from the whole movie was the scene at the auction house when Sully hires Nathan to just create a distraction, and they plan on Nathan Drake cutting the power to the place, and that doesn't work. He's interrupted, so he swings from these weird ass light bulbs hanging from the ceiling. That felt like there was a lot of practical effects in it, and it looked good and it was fun to watch. So, yeah, that was the highlight of the movie for me.
I think I would agree with that. It was either that one or that short sequence in the bar. That's about it.
True story.
Like, it's fine.
Right. And that's what I was going to get into next is like, I'm never going to buy it.
No. Oh, fuck no. This,
like, not even in a Walmart $5 bin bucket. No, thank you.
I would certainly put it in the upper echelon of video game movies, but I don't appreciate it enough on like any element to purchase it unless I have a need to. I don't know why the hell I would ever need to buy it, but
if you get the pre-order bonus with the ring on the leather strap,
no. I don't know. Like if it's like, I don't know, if someone's like, oh, here's a ultraviolet code, I guess I'll take it if it's digital and free. But like, maybe I'll watch it if I want to watch shitty video game movies. Like if I'm drunk or I'm like really sick and I want to like laugh because of shit, maybe then.
I was thinking about that in the movie theater when I hit the bathroom after the movie. I was like, the only time I will watch this again is if I'm like at a friend's house drinking and they're like, we're going to watch this movie. Like, I'll sit on the couch and view it with you, I guess, but I'll also be drinking and not care as much.
Same. Whilst I agree with your qualm, I guess, with the Tomb Raider reboot movie that did basically just copy paste its action sequences from the game, I think that's a much better movie than this. It's also just better put together.
I've only seen it once, but it's just more visually stimulating, and it's not because of its lead. The setting, the world is more interesting to look at. Even the freaking bicycle race in the opening is more interesting to look at than most of Uncharted.
I think the one strong element, I guess, or redeeming quality about this is clearly Tom Holland was using his producer credit to a lot of like effort. He was really involved in this behind the scenes, and I felt like I could kind of tell he's clearly invested, but he's getting some pretty piss poor direction. And he's got a mediocre script at best, and he's definitely going ham on the action sequences and the stunts. But
I really wish we could ever know like how much life he breathed into this project.
Probably a lot. Once the studio went, hey, we have a bankable movie star that already works for us. We should throw him in this thing. Also, just the general thing that Nathan Drake's not really supposed to be like super hot, and Tom Holland's like pretty hot. That's annoying. Minor qualm I personally find agitating of we have to make everyone really pretty. It bothers me. Like, Nathan Drake's not ugly, but he's supposed to be like really good looking normal dude. You know? Like he's in shape, but he's not like an absolute slab of meat. He's like good looking, but he's not like, holy shit, this guy should be an action movie star. Unlike Tom Holland, who's by, I would say, most people's measures, pretty damn good looking.
Nathan Drake is very ruggedly handsome.
Sure. That's what we all want to be called. I was okay for 2 hours, but that's it.
I kind of hope it does well with the normies.
It looks like it is. It's making a lot of money.
I was shocked that it was packed when I went. So, sure. Like, if it can get funding for a second one, hopefully that one can outshine its original.
Won't be hard, but please just put the budget into like a better writer or 5 instead of boats and pirate ships. Please, God, stop with the giant CGI set pieces. Stop it.